Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 10 of the Nations Cup. Let's get this started. Your first braking point is shortly after you pass the 100-meter mark. Go down to third gear, ease off on the brakes as you turn in. The downforce will help you rotate around this turn, get the car pointing where you want to go, and then start to accelerate. Take this left turn at full throttle. Bring yourself to the right and start to brake right after the curb on the right starts. Brake hard for a moment, ease off on the brakes, and let the downforce carry you through the turn. Then shortly after the red and white barriers on the left start, you want to ease off on the throttle. You can take advantage of the curbs on the inside of the turn to help the car rotate more, and when your car is pointing towards the forest, start to accelerate. Your next braking point is shortly after the blue area on the left starts. Just like the first hairpin, you want to brake hard for a short moment. Then when you ease off on the brakes, the downforce will help the car rotate around this turn. Get the car pointing where you want to go, and then start to accelerate. Ease off on the throttle for this left turn. Don't get too greedy with the apex. This turn can be taken at full throttle. Bring yourself to the right, and you want to use this third sign on the right as your turning point. You'll start to ease off on the throttle once you start to pass that sign. Turn in. Don't get too greedy with the inside of the curbs. Also, don't get too greedy with accelerating too early, as you risk going off track and getting an off track penalty. But that is all for the guide. Let's go ahead and talk about the strategies. For the qualifying session, you only have 5 minutes to try to get a good qualifying time. And you want to do whatever people in your lobby do, so if they just go for it, then you go for it. If people in your lobby feel burn, then you feel burn as well. Unlike most of the qualifying sessions, for this one, you do not want to get any slipstream from anyone, as that will do you more harm than good, especially when you go through the final corner. In that final corner, if you're on a slipstream, you have to slow down even more to the point where you have to use a little bit of braking, which can get you a bad exit towards the start of your next lap. So what you saw just now was just me just going for it. We got a 118.5. Now, for this one, if you feel burn, you're going to obviously feel burn your first lap, change on over to a new set of racing soft tires, and then you're going to do your fuel burning for your second out lap, and that final lap that you're about to start will be your flying lap. You can burn around 20% of fuel before you start your flying lap, so that strategy is still possible. It's still something to think about doing. Make sure you don't have any slipstream from the person ahead of you. So we're just going to skip on over to towards the end of our out lap. So we already changed the tires on our car. We're going to fuel burn a bit more. We fuel burn 20% of the fuel, and you want to start your qualifying pace around this turn that is coming up right here. However, one thing that I do need to point out is that you need to warm up your tires. So just swerve the car around a little bit, making sure you don't get in anyone's way. The reason why I say that is because as you approach this final turn, your tires are likely not warmed up if you don't swerve around, and this is going to happen. Yeah, so I just ruined my own qualifying lap because I didn't warm up the tires, so I had no grip, and now I'm going to get a bad qualifying time. And that was my only chance to get a good qualifying time, so I basically ruined it before I even started qualifying. So if you do the fuel burning method, you just want to make sure that you warm up your tires so you don't end up like me. As for the race strategy itself, oh boy, there's actually a lot of race strategies that can be used here, but the main point is that you can either go for a 2-stop or for a 3-stop. A 3-stop is possible because the pit entry time, the pit stop itself, and the pit exit time, they're all pretty short. So you're in, you get the tires changed, and you're out. You do have to refuel at some point in the race, so that is something you do want to think about. The Red Bull Junior can go 17 to 18 laps with little or no fuel saving, and if you shift throughout the race, when the bar on the bottom of the screen is around 75% full, you can stretch that fuel life all the way to 20 laps. And of course, if you're under someone's slipstream for a majority of the race, you'll still be able to save a bit more fuel. But the thing is that you want to make sure that you slow down a little bit more when you're going through some of the more dangerous turns, as you want to make sure that you get through those turns, especially the last turn, in one piece. And when you're under someone's slipstream, you may increase the tire wear because you're going to find yourself scrubbing the tires even more, just trying to get around the turn. So if you're also under someone's slipstream for a majority of the race or for your stint, then you might have to pit a little bit earlier. Also, we are doing a grid start, so the tires that you want to start with can be a little bit more flexible. And also, we do have the first turn, which happens to be a hairpin, so let's face it, chaos will most likely happen, so you can probably make up some positions just by surviving the first turn itself. So I'm going to quickly go through this. The 3-stop is going to end up being a bit faster than a 2-stop, simply because with the 3-stop, you get to spend 2 stints on racing soft tires. Because of that, you're going to spend less time on the racing medium tires and ultimately spend only 1 lap on the racing hard tires. So even though you do spend a bit more time in the pit stop, you do get to spend up to 16 laps on racing soft tires, getting really good times, which can definitely help you out on trying to grab some positions before you eventually switch on over to the racing medium and hard tires. Also, if you decide to make your first 2 stints racing soft tires, your car is going to be a little bit lighter when you start your second stint, which will help you get even better times. So that is something to think about. I would personally suggest going with a 3-stop simply because you get to spend more time on softer tire compounds. You get to spend more than half of the race being on the offensive, and you only get to spend 1 lap on the racing hard tires, which obviously gives you the slowest times. And one last thing, whenever you go through the final turn, you absolutely want to be careful if you happen to be under someone's slipstream, and or if your tires are showing a lot of signs of wear. You want to make sure that you don't hit the inside of the turn, as that could potentially cause your car to fly off and lose control. And under slipstream, you want to make sure that you don't go through the final turn too fast, so that way you don't end up going off track and you lose control or get an off track penalty or anything like that. So just to quickly show you here, I have to slow down a little bit more, have to lift off the throttle a lot more, potentially even have to use a little bit of braking if I'm going a little bit too fast or if my tires are obviously pretty worn out. That way I can make it through the final turn in one piece and not end up in the shadow realm. But anyways, that is pretty much it for this guide. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.